If your boat seat has ripped, or even your car seat has ripped, and you need to know how to fix it, watch today's video and I show you how. We love boating, and we take care and we maintain our own boats. But just recently, the seams have ripped on our seats on the boat. The fabric is still great. There's no rips in the fabric itself. It's just the seam has come apart. So today I'm going to show you how you can dismantle your seat cushion, how you fix it, and how you put it back together. The one tool that you will need is a staple remover, and they come in all different varieties. This one is available on Amazon, and I have the link down below. Literally have used this in our family probably since the early 80s. So you'll need a staple remover, you're going to need a pair of pliers, and to reassemble it you'll need a staple gun. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take pictures of your cushion before you tear it apart, so that when you reassemble it, if there's a question of where a strap goes or where something was folded, you have a picture of that. So you're also going to want to have a plate or a container, and this is a magnet that I have just set in the middle of the plate that's pretty handy. So just take your staple remover and carefully go under each one and take them apart. Do not get lazy or rushed and pull the fabric and go like this. That will rip. We need to preserve the fabric the best you can. So this one is just a beauty covering. Basically, it is covering the upholstery down below. So take off your covering. Most cushions would have this, so you'll have a couple layers. So you're going to take off the top layer. For this cushion, I only need to take this part off, and I will peel back the front because my rip is in this seam. This down here is fine, and it's actually stapled. This seam is stapled to the base wood. So I only have to tear half of mine off. So your situation might be a little different, but I have my covering flapped off. Now I do the same thing and I take off the upholstery from the wood. Once you have all your staples off, just peel back your upholstery. And this is the seam that I need to repair. There's only a couple holes in this one, but I am going to sew the entire distance of it, because we've done this on 2 cushions, and the one that I just completed before this, it had several rips. As soon as it started ripping in one space, it just kept traveling. So I'm going to reinforce the whole seam. I did try to put it on the sewing machine, so if you can, if your cushion is a way that it's totally dismantled and you have a sewing machine, perfect, run it through a sewing machine. This is attached to the wood down below, so I do not want to take this apart and compromise the factory look of it. So I am going to show you how you can hand sew this seam. Okay, you'll need 2 needles that are pretty sharp on the tip. You don't want to do a blunt tip. And then you're going to need upholstery weight thread. So go ahead and thread 1 needle, cut off about 1 yard of string, take the other end and thread your other needle. Now you're going to follow the stitching line that is already there. If it's ripped out, you should be able to see where it originally was. So you put your needle through, put one of them through, hold on to the other one, kind of find a center point, and on the same side, this one has went through that way, we come back through the same side. The same hole that one came through, take your other needle and put it back through that hole. Now this one is on that side, come through, take your other needle and go back through that hole. and you're just pulling it nice and tight as you go. A couple tips: when you get to the point that there is the rip, I would go forward and backwards on that spot, and then keep going. When it comes down to the end, go backwards again to reinforce that before you snip off your thread, but I'll show you that as well. But at all times, follow your stitch line so that on this side, it will have the same crease that it had previously. Okay, my strings are getting a little short. So what I meant by back stitching, go back into the hole previously and just go back the other direction. So now I have to take this one and go in this hole. And just repeat for a couple stitches and then end up on the same side. And take off my needles. And now just tie several knots with that string and trim your ends. Okay, and just trim off those strings. And I'm going to continue that across. While you have your cushion torn apart, if you've boated like we have, often you'll get a cut in a piece of vinyl, and we've had to put sealer on it so that it doesn't spread. If I had a cut on these cushions at this point, I would take time and I would put a patch on the back side. So pretend there was a cut there, put a vinyl patch on the back side. That was just something I thought of. Thankfully, we don't have any cuts on these cushions, just our seam was ripping. Before you put it back together, you might have a piece of plastic under yours, and this is necessary, obviously, for the moisture. If you have some sort of an adhesive spray, this is some quilt basting spray, just something to hold it in place while you put back your fabric. And I'm going to pull my sewing back or my fabric back over. Oh, I love there's no rips at all. And I think it'll lay down just nice. So we're going to turn it back over and reassemble. And if yours is, has a lot of components to it, this is where that picture that you took before you tore it apart will come into play, and just follow your map. Do your best to match up any creases. This one here has a crease where it's been bent for the life of the cushion, so match back up any of that. Just use a staple gun. This is one we got off of Amazon that we like pretty good. And just start reassembling. Anytime I staple, I always have to have a hammer to make sure that these stay in nice and tight. I'm going to do a few on this side, then turn it to that direction. Typically on upholstery, you do one on each side back and forth. This one, you're just reassembling, and I just want to make sure that I am following the exact spot. So where these staple marks are, I'm going to make sure that this is pulled to that area. So I'm going to do one more over here. Okay, and this one here is a good benchmark. There is a hole that matches up to this hole here, which is a screw hole for where Ross took it off of the boat. So I'm going to make sure that those line up and just put a staple there. So of course yours will look a little different. Every cushion is different, but just match it up, use your staple gun, and put your baby back together. So here it is, all put back together. We have both cushions. Again, I would suggest, even if you have a little rip, I would sew the whole seam. If you can use a sewing machine, bonus, but I wasn't able to by the way that my cushion was. If you have any questions while you're doing your cushions, please comment down below. We would love to hear from you, but as always, thank you for watching DIY on the House.